Okay. Hey guys, it's Laurie Hermann. I'm here with Mike Colomb today. How's it going, Mike?
Good, Laurie. How are you doing, hon?
I'm good. I just got to see you and your beautiful wife down here in Southern California last weekend. I was so happy.
We had an amazing trip. It was fun. It was fast in and out, but yeah, we had a great time. It was great seeing you.
That's awesome. So you guys, I've known Mike for a while. He spoke at 3 of my events in the last 3 or 4 years.
That's correct.
On trusts, private membership associations, but I know a lot of you do not know who Mike is. So I wanted to bring him on today. As a business owner, I love having the latest and greatest information out there, as well as how to keep more of my money in my own cryptos or my own bank or my own wallet. So Mike, can you tell us a little bit about yourself today and we'll get started?
Yeah, you bet. So let's see, I come out of the business world. I've owned businesses. I've been in the corporate world. I've had many businesses, and we just kind of got to a point where we got tired of people telling us what we could and couldn't do. When I say people, I mean, the municipality, the state, city, county, state, local government. And we just kind of searched for a different way to do it, and we found it. And we've been operating PMAs ever since. In this avenue of PMAs, we broke into the trust world. And we actually do private irrevocable trusts as well, which is a great component to add to a PMA to help protect even a little bit further and protect your assets. The PMA is designed to protect your business. The trust is designed to protect your assets. My background, I'm a mechanical guy, contractor, many years in business doing those multiple things. Kind of got to a point where I didn't like it anymore. And my wife asked me to build a grocery store, and we did, and it was an amazing venture, and definitely the most fun I've ever had in operating a business, because you're free from all the stupid little things that they want to do to you.
Well, and so a lot of you have heard about a trust. So a lot of people know about trusts. People know about LLCs. So can you tell a little bit, so when you're talking about PMA, I know this because you've done several PMAs for me over the last several years, but PMA stands for Private Membership Association. Can you share a little bit about what that is and how it's different from a normal business structure?
Yeah, you bet. So what happens in an LLC, corporation, or a sole proprietorship? Those are all government entities and they're government contracts. So when you do those, you are in contract with that entity, whether it's the city, county, or state. They're in control of what you do and what you can and can't do. And then you go into business with them, for lack of better words, right? Because they're going to mandate that certain things happen, that they have control over your business to certain aspects. And then you're basically required to do those things, or they can fine you. They can shut off your license. They can cut off your LLC or your corporation. There's all kinds of things that they would do. The difference basically is if you look at what happens maybe 150 years ago, and when you wanted to open a business, you move into this town, you open a business up, and you operate your business. You didn't need to go to the city and say, "Hey guys, can I open a business?" Right? And they didn't come to you and say, "Hey, you need to pay us, $500 for a use permit, or $250 for just a license to be able to operate in our city." And they didn't come to you asking you for annual revenue, sharing. They call it revenue sharing. It's just another tax. And they did these things because the municipalities weren't set up to where they didn't need the money. And then as they start building and getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and they want to encroach more in your life and control more of your stuff, they need money to do that. So they start making up new ways to be able to take money. So it's the difference between public and private. We used to be private just arbitrarily 150 years ago. And then they built this public monster that wants to control you and take your money and invoke on your rights for the most part. And then the private allows us to operate our businesses just in the private. There's 2 forms of government in the United States. There's the public and the private. And in the private, when we become a private membership association, we are not under the jurisdiction of the public. So then we don't have to be confined by those things that they want us to do.
So then tell us, with the government and everything, do we still need to have licenses? Do we have regulations? People who have let's say you have an optometrist office. Mm-hmm. What would that look like?
So we have several optometrists that are operating today in PMAs. What happens, and the things that they want to do. And it depends. There's two different ways to do this, whether it's a new practice or if it's an existing practice. So with a new practice, you go in there, you start your practice, and you don't need licensing at all. You don't need it from the city, the county, or the state. You don't need to operate under their guidelines. There are things that they do. You can operate in the private. And then in that, all of your members, the people who you work with, they all have to be a member of your
clients.
Your clients. Your members are your clients. Right. They have to have a membership application. Yes. They need a membership application in place that put them into the private, into your organization and out of the public. And if you don't do that, then you're dealing and you're working inside the public as well. And I'll give an example in a minute. So that's one of the things that you do. I always counsel and recommend that you stay within your pain tolerance, right? So, and what I mean by that is that, perfect example, I've got two dentists, unrelated, don't know each other. They're in different cities across the country. And one dentist, they have x-ray machines, both of them, and they have to get a license from the state. They have to renew this license every year with the state. The state wants like $300, $500, depending on where you're at. And one of the dentists says, no way am I going to give them a penny. I'm not going to pay them $300 for my license. I don't need to. I get my equipment certified every year. I don't need to pay that extra $300 fee to them to come and inspect to see that I've done the certification on it. I can do that myself. And he says, I don't care what it costs me or what I need to do or how much grief they give me. I'm going to fight them and I'm not going to pay it. The other dentist, he takes and he has no time for it. He doesn't want it. He said, it's not worth $300 for me to deal with it. Right. So he just pays it. And my point is that stay inside your pain tolerance. One guy didn't care about the fight. The other guy didn't want to do it at all. Right. And it was worth $300 for not to deal with it. So it's just up to you on what you want to do when you open a business. And the things they're going to look at is a business license, a use permit. And what those do also, when you give a business license or obtain one, it allows them access into your business. So then they feel like they're owning your business and they can come in and they can monitor you. They can look at your books. They can do all these things that some people don't want them to do. So it depends on what you want to do. You don't have to do any of it. I personally, and all of our PMAs, we don't do any of that stuff at all, ever. And our city and our county and our state, they understand that. We beat them in court, and they understand. They know that we're not going to deal with them. We're not going to give them a penny. And I don't ask for anything from them, and they don't ask for anything from me. So, and that's the relationship we have. But the thing is that we get in a situation where there is a business license now. And now the newest kick for municipalities is they're hitting all the Airbnbs. They actually hire people specifically to go online and look at their county and the Airbnb that are in their county or their city. And they look at them and they find the ones that aren't licensed with them. And then they go after them. And they go after them hard. And we have to write PMAs and we have to shut them down. And if they're already PMA, we shut them down with our equity process. And we've been 100% successful in doing that. But what happens is that they want to get in, they want your money. They still want your money. They still want control. And it's tough to get rid of them to do that. And it's just one of their new things. So, it's like, hey, everybody's making all this money in PMAs. I mean, with Airbnb, and we want some of that money. And they charge, one of the worst counties we have is Ventura County. They are just hot. I think they have like 3 or 4 people working full time just to attack the Airbnbs.
People trying to make money.
Yeah, to get them compliance, right? They call it compliance. Well, you know what? Yeah, you're already in compliance. You don't need their authority to do that. It's your house, and you can do that.
Well, and people just don't realize that. So I guess one of my next question is who's best suited for a PMA?
PMAs are not for every business right up front, right? So if you have any federal contracts or state contracts, city, municipality contracts where you're getting the bulk of your income from one of those relationships, they're not going to sign your PMA, period. It's not going to happen. So in that instance, it's not a good fit. There's probably a couple, it's hard to be an insurance agent or a real estate broker or agent in that because you have a government contract for each one of those services. Probably we've devised ways to get around it with the real estate part of it. It's actually workable. On the insurance piece of it, it's just they require that piece of it. And it's hard to get around. But other than that, it pretty much anything.
Well, and so then you've kind of talked a little bit about licenses and things of that nature. So do you still need licenses, permits? Do you have to register with the state if you have a private membership association?
You don't need any of those. We don't register anything at all. We have no licensing, no permitting, nothing at all. I'd say the majority of the PMAs that I've helped today, we're right around 1,000 PMAs, and the majority of them do not license or register anything at all.
And that's that. And I didn't mean to interrupt you, Mike, but that would be all in the United States, clearly, right?
I'm sorry, hon, I didn't catch that whole.
That would be in the United States, right?
We have PMAs in Canada as well. I've got groups that I've been working with and helping that are in the UK and then also in Australia and New Zealand. Okay. We have PMAs in Puerto Rico. They can go into Virgin Islands, Samoa Islands, and places like that as well. Anything that's a U.S. federal territory, because it's a U.S. federal idea, because we're using our Constitution as our protection, right?
All right. And so then what would be the first steps for starting a PMA? And I'm going to put your contact here so that people can reach out to you. But what would be, like, what are the first steps to starting a PMA?
So basically, one of the things that I recommend, and I mean, it's simple. The first step could be as simple as just reaching out to me, and then we book an appointment and we get on a one-on-one Zoom call. And we kind of go through what in your business, and we talk about your specific situation and what your needs are. And then we kind of design it towards that. Some people don't need a PMA, they think they do, they really don't. Some people need one and they don't think they do, right? So we just kind of work through those different challenges. And it's as simple as that. Just get a hold of me. There's my information going across the screen right now. And then we just set up an appointment and we go from there. And if you go with me or you don't. And the thing about what I do is that I help before, during, and after. And there's other people out there doing PMAs, and none of them have gone to court and won a battle like I have. And none of them protect people with the equity process like I do. And they just don't do it, because the biggest part of it, they in the past, they've come to me to help them through their challenges. And then finally, I just had to cut everybody off because they absorb so much of my time. And then it's really hard, because there's so much PMA information out there, and about 90% of it's inaccurate. They're just things that people are making up because they don't really understand what can and can't happen.
Well, and I'm not laughing at you. I'm just recalling conversations that you and I've had over the years, like going to court and talking to them. Right. And to me, you're just like Mike, a regular guy, but you know this stuff in and out. And so to hear you telling about the court case or whatever, and you had all of your information right there in one, like I know we've talked about one of those times. So I appreciate that. And people I've had businesses, since 1992. I think I started my first company. And it's like, I want to keep more of my money and have some less people telling me what to do with my business. I'm the one who knows my business. And so it's just like, people started out doing, let's just take the Airbnbs. They started out doing Airbnb because they needed to make extra money. Yeah. But then somebody coming around and following them and seeing what they're doing and getting all up in their business and everything. I don't think that that's what it's supposed to be like 150 years ago with all of that, right?
It shouldn't be like that today. And it's like that, Laurie, because we have too many people just say, okay, and not enough people saying no.
Because they bombard you with all of this paperwork that you're supposed to do. And so that's the thing, you guys, when you get started with Mike, you guys have to jump on a Zoom and he can have this done in a matter of a few days. I'll say a week, but it's very quick. And you just go down to your bank, and you open up accounts. I know I've had to reach out to you when I first did my first one, asking about a few different things, and you were just there. And that's why I had you at multiple events talking about this, because I just want people to realize more about the freedom. And if you are a business owner, and I know that there's people starting new businesses all the time, but then a lot of times they can't make ends meet because they're paying for all these extra things that they really didn't need to, and maybe it's taken away from what they needed to have an income from their business, right?
It got to a point when I was contracting where all the joy of contracting was gone.
Yeah.
Because of all the stupid things that they want you to do today. And then when we open our PMA, it's like, oh my gosh, I wish I operated every single business I've ever had in my life with a PMA.
Like you just have this sense of freedom. You don't have so much weighing on your shoulders about, oh, I have to do like what they said, and I have to file my business license every year, and I have to file these reports, and I have to do this, and you can just run your business.
Well, we took, and when we started our PMA, we owned a winery, and we knew that when we opened our grocery store, that we were going to sell our wine in the store without a license from the ABC in California. And with that knowledge, I talked about it. And because I'm traveling everywhere, I was doing calls, doing videos, and in court, the DA tried using that against me, and something else that she was trying to drum up against me about how I won't follow the law. Right. And so you could hear her screaming in the judge's chamber, screaming about me to the judge that, this is what, she's trying to show it to him, and he could care less. At that point in time, that guy, he was pretty good and he didn't care. But it's amazing what they'll try and do and the things that they want to try and do. But we set that up on purpose to begin with, knowing that I would end up in court, right? That we would end up in court and we would have to fight this. And we did that for a reason, to be able to show precedence to everybody in the country, because what's good in California goes anywhere else, because it's a federal deal, that we can and you can protect yourself. So we set it up. We went to court. We beat them. Took some time, but we beat them. And with that knowledge, it just gives you that freedom, right? And I had the freedom because I knew in my heart that when they came at me, I was going to be able to get and beat them. I knew from the very beginning, before we even decided to do that. And we made that commitment that we would handle it in that direction. And we did. And once that happened, it was like that whole knowledge before me knowing that it could happen. Now I saw it happen and we did it. And just to be able to talk about that is like, these are our rights to do these things without their involvement. They don't like it, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter if they do or not.
Well, and that's the thing, is it's just like there's so much regulation, and you and I, we're friends, and so we talk about these things and realize that we don't need to have like somebody paying attention to us and what we're doing, right? Yeah. It's like we do our business, we do it good. We want to, help people. That's one of the things, is like everything that I'm doing today, and I think everything that you're doing today, is wanting to help people. And so I just want people to know that there's this option, because you don't hear about it. You just, right. Up until probably 4 years ago, I didn't know what that was.
Maybe 4.5 years ago, I had no idea about it at all.
When?
4.5 years ago. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, almost 5 now. And it's kind of funny because I have people that I know that were PMAs 20 years ago that I met through doing this. One guy is a doctor, and he's a family practitioner, and he has this office, and he was helping people with things outside of his state's scope for his license. Mm-hmm. And the medical board in the state came after him, and he said, okay, that's fine, whatever. So he took and he owned his building, and he built a wall right down the middle, and he split his practice in half. And when people came in, and he explains it just like this, I'd have Joe come in, and Joe would have this problem, and I'd say, okay, hey, Joe, well, this is what you need to do. And he goes, okay, go do it, doc. He goes, that's what I want. And he goes, oh, I can't do that here. The state doesn't allow me to do it. But you can go next door over here, and then they can help you over there. And then the guy said, okay, good. And he set up an appointment, and the doctor would take off his white coat, put on his black coat, walk next door in a door in the building. And this guy actually did this. This is
come on.
And then he went into the other room, and the guy come to the door, and he goes, hey, doc. And he goes, oh, I'm not doctor over here. I'm John. And then he would take care of his issue. And he did that for years and years and years without the state being able to do a thing about it at all, because he was operating outside of his license as a private membership association, and there's nothing they could do about it. They hated it. They didn't like him, but they couldn't do anything. So that's how things work. They want to play games. We don't necessarily play games. We have recourse for their games, right? Yeah,
you don't want to. But a lot of people, they're not brave enough to make those steps to do what he did.
Well, a lot of people, it's not that they're not brave enough necessarily, and some aren't, but the majority of people, they don't have any idea that it's possible to begin with.
Yeah.
Right? And they haven't been sparked to be able to see that understanding part of being able to do those things. And then some people just don't have time to do it. They don't want to bother with it. It's easier to pay that $300 for that X-ray machine.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I'm not saying people aren't brave. I don't.
Yeah, but they're believing there's a lot of people like that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, I want people to know, I guess, that there's other options,
There's
and these
options.
options can be kind of great.
Yeah.
So no, I just,
Options. Well, and then once those options are made and someone's paved the path, then it makes it easier to do, right? So my first PMA, but when I first started writing PMAs, the only PMA I ever did before in my whole life was the one we owned, right? There was that first customer, and it took me like 2 months to find that first customer after I started, and I decided I was going to go ahead and do this for a living. It took 2 months, and it was exciting, and it was, it was scary. When I say scary, it's because I quit contracting. I closed my business down. I was done. I was all done, over. We were moving. We bought a ranch in South Dakota. We were gone. And so that part of it, financially wise, is like, what am I going to do? And then the Lord kind of just pushed me over into this avenue, and then I just took it by its reins and went for it. But after that first one went through, then the floodgates opened up, and we have about 1,000 today, and that's been 4 years ago. So we've helped a lot of people operate.
That's a lot of business. That's a lot. 1,000 businesses out there in 4 years. That's a lot of people. And like you said, once it's touched one person, because as soon as I heard about it, I'm like, I want to do one of those. And I've had you do several for some different companies that I've had over the last few years. And it's just like, I know some of the people that came to the events were doing the PMAs in all different types of industries. But I wanted to get you on today to share with people so that they are aware of it. And please reach out to Mike if you have any questions. I had his email address down here. I'll put it back up. But if you, is there anything else that you want people to know about before we end here to Mike?
Well, some of the cool things that we do with the interaction of the trust and the PMA are very, very cool. And that would, we could do a whole nother, another call for that at some point.
Can we get together maybe next week, and we'll do one on trust, so that I like to keep
we're going, so Monday, Tuesday. Yeah, probably Monday, Tuesday is good. Okay. Wednesday, we're leaving to Scottsdale for.
I'll get with you. All right. I'll get with you. All right. All right, Mike. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Bye, guys.
And we'll see you. We're going to